Guys, so this is Micah. I am here to do the Capricorn class today. If you see me kind of like looking between screens, I'm recording this for the Divination YouTube channel. And so I will be kind of like looking back and forth here, trying to kind of get acclimated to each screen. So today we're talking about Capricorn, Saturn, and the 10th house today. And so I am just pulling up a chart that has Saturn and Capricorn. So I think we do. Okay, we're gonna be using Rihanna's chart today for the example. And let me share this screen on my computer so you guys can see it on YouTube. Okay. 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 So let's go ahead and get into this. So we're going to be talking about Capricorn first, and then we will get into Saturn, and then we'll get into the interpretation. So Capricorn is I use, and it is going to be the Earth, the cardinal Earth sign, and it's going to be ruled by Saturn. So when we look at Capricorn energy, we're looking really at a sign that's embodying, or an archetype that's embodying a lot of dynamic energy. It is talking about, like, a new beginning to something, where something really kicks off first, or we're talking about a pivot. Capricorn marks the winter solstice on the calendar, and it comes in, I think, at the coldest time of the year, or it's like, turning into or pivoting into the coldest time of the year. And I think a lot of times we associate Capricorn as like some of their traits to be cold or serious, or not super playful. But remember that sun sign astrology is not everything, and Capricorn is just an archetype at the end of the day, and not all people. So Saturn will be talked about later in this class as well. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the mythology of Capricorn. So there were lots of stories, like Greek mythology stories on Capricorn. And the one that I picked because it made the most sense was like this fever dream of a myth. And I'll summarize. So basically we have Prickis and the sea goat children, which I think that title sounds like a fever dream all by itself. Sorry, I'm like, my cat just like rubbed up against me, and I did not see that. Like, did not see her at all. And so the we can see with Prickis. So the whole, like, the summarized version of that story is we have these sea goats essentially, and Prickis was one of them. I do believe he was like the leader of the sea goats. And so the sea goats, a lot of the sea goats started to go up on land, and the longer that they spent on land, they started to lose their intellect, and they just became more like animals rather than these like mystical, wise creatures. And so Prickis saw this and stayed alone on this rock, in the water, half fish, half goat. And he held all the wisdom of like the sea goats or whatever. And that's where we get, like, with Capricorn, there is this wisdom, this great wisdom and maturity that comes with Capricorn, but also this loneliness that comes with Capricorn as well. That's also mirrored back to when we're talking about Saturn later in this class too. In Egyptian mythology, it's associated with Thoth and as the god of wisdom, and Nun, god of the waters. In Babylonian mythology, it's associated with Ea, who had the body and face of a goat and the lower half of a fish. The constellation of Capricorn looks a lot like a triangle to me, but you are free to interpret it how you will. Capricorn, as far as glyphs, has, I think, like 3 glyphs at this sign at this time, because it has like the one that kind of looks like a Z with a curly Q on it, but then it also has one that looks like an N with a curly Q on it, but then there's like another one that I forget at the moment. And it has like three glyphs for Capricorn for one sign. Some traits that we see associated with Capricorn: it is an earth sign, and so it's going to be practical, a hard worker, very materialistic, or focused on the tangibles. Frugal. Frugal is going to be more a part that Saturn plays in, because it's tapping into like kind of like that maturity, being more discerning about what money is being spent on, and maybe like the appreciation of the achievement of those tangible things, and maybe not wanting to give it up. Being more status oriented. Capricorns, they are the goat, so it's about like climbing the high heights, climbing to the top of that mountain. And so it can be about like always wanting to be on top. When I say status oriented, a lot of people sometimes get offended. But think about like if you guys have any Capricorn placements, because even at the time, like I think I had to kind of like look at my own kind of life, because I'm Capricorn rising. And for the longest time, I think before my Saturn return, I was very focused on titles. And I think maybe that could be like, I guess, a better way of saying it is that maybe it's not about status, but it's about titles, or like, because a lot of times in this society, career is attached to a title, and achievements somehow come, with a title. Capricorn energy can get very stuck on the title of everything, or the status that comes with the title. Methodical, thinking things through, planning things out. That's all coming through like not just Saturn, but the Earth aspect of Capricorn as well. Warriors, self-disciplined, reserved, patient, pessimistic, and conservative, or like staying closer to tradition. People, places, and things and other correspondences associated with Capricorn are going to be like all the necessary things, that we need in life to, basically function, are associated with Capricorn or Saturn. Bones, joints, and knees are going to be ruled by Capricorn, but we'll also take a look at the things that are associated with Saturn later, and all of those things are very important to our bodies, and allowing us to basically not be a pile of goop on the floor. The day that's associated with Capricorn or Saturn is going to be Saturday. Numbers are going to be 2 and 8. Crystals and stones are going to be garnet, emerald, malachite, azurite, fluorite, and jet. Plants and herbs are going to be cannabis, rosemary, tarragon, carnations, and ivy. Places are going to be Afghanistan, Lithuania, Greece, Bosnia, there we go, Mexico, India, Tibet, Bulgaria, Brandenburg, Germany, Brussels, Belgium, Port Said, Egypt, Mexico City, Chicago, Illinois, Oxford, Boston, Montreal, Canada, and I would also personally say New York City or Manhattan. Metal is going to be lead, or it could also be like wood and stone. Basically all the heavy stuff. Like it's going to be like a Saturn thing, but you could also say like for materials, leather, or anything that's like aged is going to be like very much associated with like Saturn and Capricorn. Animals ruled over by Capricorn are, of course, going to be goats or anything with like cloven hooves. Stone, leather, mining, granite, gravel, construction, farming, brick, time, like time passage, like time on like a watch, not time the herb. Business, cement, watches, gardens, chiropractors, quarries, pottery, salt, land, and real estate are also going to be Capricorn ruled things. for Saturn ruled things. Some famous Capricorn people are going to be Tiger Woods, Jim Carrey, Muhammad Ali, Isaac Newton, Mel Gibson, Michelle Obama, Ricky Martin, Ryan Seacrest, Jared Leto, Denzel Washington, John Legend, LeBron James, Bradley Cooper, Blue Ivy Carter, Kate Middleton, Orlando Bloom, and Betty White, the Great, of course. So when we're looking at Capricorn, when we like read off some of these names, you hear people that have been at the top of their career. Or like they have, worked really hard and everyone knows them. Capricorn wants to be known because it is associated with the 10th house and public recognition. A lot of Capricorns will want the recognition for their work, rightfully so. But that want or that urge for that energy that we all have within us, we all have Capricorn energy within us. Even if you don't have any planets in Capricorn, you have Capricorn energy. It's just expressed out elsewhere. We all in some way want those things of wanting to be appreciated or seen for things, and that's all coming from the archetype of Capricorn. So let's take a look at Saturn. Give me just a minute here while I just make sure that this video doesn't cut off on my computer. Okay, so for Saturn, it's going to rule a lot of things. Saturn is a malefic. And so we see some of the following things being associated with Saturn. Malefics destroy, they tear things down, they say no. One of Saturn's biggest lessons, for those of you that have been through your Saturn return, will know that it's the time where you are essentially told no by the world a lot, in a lot of different ways. And that's kind of Saturn's blessing. Saturn gets a lot of bad press. I do believe, as someone that Saturn ruled and also is finishing up her Saturn return, Saturn is not half as bad as I think it's talked about to be. But it is going to be that strict teacher that does not stand for anything less than the best. So we have things being ruled by Saturn, such as pettiness, envy, and maliciousness, anxiety, self-depreciation, loners, liars, or those who play the part of appearances, harshness, strictness, gloominess and misery, peers, accusations, orphans or being orphaned, sailors and those that practice waterside trades, sailings and seafaring, depression or sluggishness, inaction, long-lasting punishments, obstacles and secrets, restraints, imprisonment, soil, farmers and gardeners, tax collectors, violent actions, earned rank, and the status and good name that comes with them, lead, wood, and stone, as well as phlegm, lymph, single people and widows, as well as gout, cough, illness, dropsy, convulsions, depravity, death by water, strangulation, tumors, dysentery, the color, anything like dark brown in color, as well as anything astringent in taste is going to be ruled by Saturn. Super fun, right? And so getting to the parts of the body, and this is where I'm talking about that while Saturn might seem like this very negative planet that nobody wants to touch with a 10-foot pole, Saturn gives us the things that we need to function. Saturn's key word is necessity. And so with parts of the body, Saturn rules the following things. Your kidneys. You can't really live without those. You might be able to live without one, but you can't live without both. Kidneys help to filter out waste, and that's what Saturn does, so to speak. It's all about what is necessary, what's needed. Everything else can, be purged out. Your skeletal system. Saturn is a lot about structure. And the skeletal system in your bones really helps to give your body shape. It's the structure of our bodies as well as your muscles that rely on the skeletal system or that cling on to your bones. Your skin, you wouldn't want to just be bones and muscle, walking around like that, and then the bladder as well. So it's everything protective and very necessary. It helps to filter things out and give things structure and tone. Um, all of these things we need, yet they are ruled over by Saturn. And so Saturn technically rules over two planets. It's not two planets, two zodiac signs. It is the ruler of Capricorn, but it's also the traditional ruler of Aquarius and is going to co-rule Aquarius with Uranus. For in modern astrology, Saturn rules the 10th house and the 11th house. In modern astrology, it comes to be corresponded with, the 10th and the 11th house. The travel time for Saturn to get out in and out of one sign is going to be 2.5 years, and it retrogrades once a year for approximately 4 months. Saturn will be retrograding here, I think, in a month, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. So we can also look at, we're going to jump back to the actual handout and then get into some of the interpretations. So I'll do Capricorn in like the first house or like throughout the house first and then the planet. You'll see a lot of similarities between both. So I'll kind of like jump in between both when I'm talking about them. So make sure that you're listening. So Capricorn in the first is going to give somebody so I don't think I've actually talked about this a lot in the other classes. So whatever sign you have in your first house, like think about what kind of like illnesses you have. I guarantee you there's something about like the first house and the sign in the first house that you like might struggle with. So like if you're a Virgo rising, you might have tummy issues or like digestive issues. You might and that's not for all Virgo risings, of course, but I'm saying like think of some of the things that you struggle with on a body level. Usually your first house will talk a lot about that. So Capricorn risings or people with Capricorn in the first house can have issues with like joints and knees. I'm a Capricorn rising and I've broken a bone once, but I had a major knee injury about 2 years ago that took quite some time to heal. And so I personally have experienced that, but also it's actually like a thing. And so Capricorn in the first house can just give somebody very dark, angular, like featured, like, yeah, I think like the best way to like voice that is like these dark features, like the high cheekbones, like is like I think the common factor with Capricorn in the first house. The cheekbones are very pronounced. Having Saturn in the first house, so so like the person might just be very ambitious with Capricorn in the first. A lot of their identity is wrapped up in like what their achievements might be, like wanting to start new, wanting to start new projects or like manage projects as well, wanting to be the boss, wanting to be the leader of things, being very material or material oriented or like materialistic can be another thing, always thinking about how can I make money off of this or what can I get from this. It can be someone that might suffer with some insecurities. That would be the same for Saturn in the first house as well. These people can be very serious people or like people that maybe look serious. They might not actually be serious, but they look serious. These are going to be like one of the signs on the first house that has like RBF. Because they might just look like they are not happy at all. But Saturn in the first house is also going to give RBF, most likely. But more so, Saturn in the first can point to maybe some issues with like the health. Whenever I'm talking about any of these interpretations, it is going to be dependent on what else is happening in the chart, as always. But Saturn in the first house, like the biggest thing with that is that these people usually grow up very mature. And it's usually not by choice, it's usually by circumstance. I mean, it could be, I suppose, like just, by choice, but usually they are having to take on the adult role very early in life, and they don't get to have much of a childhood with Saturn in the first because they become like that Saturnine kind of archetype. So either going to be like children or like the people that maybe, experience insecurities and possibly anxiety and depression very early in life. They are going to also be like highly motivated to achieve certain goals, wanting to be like the top of the class or like, the first person to like, pick their team in a school project or whatever. These people can be very anal when it does come to like getting things done. Saturn in the first is going to be a hard worker, or just at least very serious about what they decide to commit to at the very least. But there can definitely be like some issues like around like feeling not as, or like comparing yourself to peers can come up with Saturn in the first. Capricorn in the second is going to be very focused on money and accumulation of money, handling it responsibly as well is going to be a big thing. These are going to be the people that are not just handling money responsibly, but also going to be the people that maybe, there might be some fears around losing money. These would be people that maybe like would want to invest their money. That could be an option as well. They put a lot of their worth on how hard they've worked, and what they've achieved is like the base thing as well. Capricorn in this, or not Capricorn in the second, Saturn in the second can really be some fears around not having enough money, or growing up with lack. Saturn in the second can also say that like there's some issues around self-esteem, and also again comparing yourself to others more so even than Saturn in the first. Saturn in the first is more going to say like maybe there's some issues like around the identity and not knowing yourself. But remember that the second house is connected to the first house. And so they're almost going to, the second house gets its meaning from the first. And so second house can talk about self-esteem and value as well. And so there can be some issues around self-esteem, belief in the self, or, asking or like using other people to kind of like validate themselves. Capricorn in the third is going to be great when it does come to like leadership with other people. They're going to be people that are really going to be able to bring people together to get things done, be very efficient. Maybe they're going to be someone that really heads a project when it comes to like, communication. These could be the people that start off the conversation first. Rather than like waiting on someone. Not to say that they are just like super extroverted, but they are going to like observe and make sure that when they communicate with other people that they basically don't look stupid. Like Capricorn in the third is going to always, Capricorn energy in general is always like going to be like where we want to come off mature, or where we are very concerned about maybe appearances, and therefore it can come off like, I guess, very classy is the nice way to say it. So I suppose, but Capricorn can also be a hot mess. So with Capricorn in the third, it can be someone that does a lot of observing before they actually talk, but they will definitely engage in like connecting with other people, especially if it has to do with business. Saturn in the third, it might have some delays in speech. Because anywhere Saturn is where you're going to have some limitations, struggles, and restrictions. So in the third house, it can be some like sort of learning disability, or having some delayed speech, or being just extremely introverted could also be like Saturn in the third, or not like, never leaving like your hometown or something like that. could come up with Saturn in the third. It could, I guess, you never leaving your hometown could also come up with like Saturn in the fourth. I'm just kind of like throwing that out there as a random example. Um, there can also be some Saturn in the third can also be like some issues around like belief and spirit. Um, maybe someone that had a hard time in like lower school, like from kindergarten to high school. Maybe someone that really struggled with grades or like had to work extremely hard to have good grades, like in that school period. Um, Capricorn in the fourth is going to be more so someone that maybe has a very strict family or someone that's just very like there's like a lot of structure, but it's often like there's something very like not it's not just structured, it's like almost militant, like with with Saturn, or not Saturn in the third, with Capricorn in the fourth. Um, it can be a lot of older people. There's a lot of like hierarchy in the household when you have Capricorn in the fourth, or like older people are really I guess valued, or like that wisdom from older people is really valued. Um, and you have that hierarchy, status matters a lot. And so we can see like maybe like the father, really being very like, either maybe working in the military or maybe being someone that is just very structured and achievements are really emphasized in the household. Um, Saturn in the fourth can be like a lack of family, someone that maybe is an orphan or someone that doesn't have a lot of roots, someone that's disconnected from family, or someone that struggles to kind of create that bond in general. It can also be like when they grow up, maybe, handling money when it does come to household finances can be, I guess, like a struggle that happens with that, as well as like all the things we were talking about with Capricorn in the fourth. There's really like a lot of like issues around like connection with the family with Saturn in the fourth, um, and family members, especially like older family members in particular, since Saturn rules time. Capricorn in the fifth is going to be someone that works for fun, or maybe someone that works on their own. And they work for themselves, or when it does come to self-expression and like leisure, there's someone that has to that wants to be the best at those things. And so creativity and fun kind of become this like work, even if it's not like working literally for fun, it becomes work because it's very much about like, my self-expression and, how I create. I have to be the best at it. Don't let Capricorns fool you. They're very competitive. And so Saturn in the fifth can be some struggles around creativity, maybe some struggles connecting with the inner child, and therefore also some struggles around connecting with children. But it can also manifest in maybe like having struggles with like fertility and, struggling to get pregnant, I guess, in a woman's chart, or, not being able to, I guess, like kind of separate the me from the collective, because the fifth house can be very much uh, what am I doing for me versus what am I doing for the recognition of the collective or my community or my friends. And someone with Saturn in the fifth can really struggle with that, and kind of finding their own beat, uh, finding the beat of their own drum. There we go. It can become that, or someone that really struggles with like dating or like connecting with people like on a more like passionate emotional level. Capricorn in the sixth is going to be the manager. It's going to be somebody that's very regimented, like about like the health, the routine, and like getting things done. This is going to be the person that's the taskmaster. They're going to make sure that they're going to be anal. These are people are going to be the type B, like I'm not type B, type A people. Saturn in the sixth is going to suggest maybe some health issues or some sort of issue like around following routine, and creating like a good like everyday schedule for yourself that kind of keeps things running smoothly. It can be kind of like chaos. Like it can, this could be like the person that you walk into their office and there are like papers everywhere, and Pepsi maybe spilled on important documents because they never clean up their environment. Um, and so it can be messy. Maybe someone that holds on to a job for way too long. Since the sixth house is about health, it can be like, stress related health issues, or like holding on to like a work environment or a job that is no longer healthy for you, or, just finding yourself constantly in environments that are unhealthy, whether that be like literal or figurative. Capricorn in the seventh is going to want a partner that is able to take care of them. And it's going to be somebody that, wants a like kind of like this very like boss like kind of partner, someone that isn't super nurturing but is very like independent, ambitious. And that's not to say that Capricorn can't be that, but it could be like a partner that is more so about like providing rather than actually doing all like the mushy like nurturing stuff. And Saturn in the seventh can say like maybe that you have some issues like with relationships and holding in like actually finding relationships that are really really healthy for you, or long lasting, because Saturn can be, again, it's all about time. And so maybe like you go in and out of relationships a lot. You're just not able to kind of find that person for you for a while. Or like some delays when it does come to like marriage can also come from Saturn in the seventh. Capricorn in the eighth. The Capricorn in the eighth can be a lot of maybe like some fears around getting older. Capricorn in the eighth can be like someone that maybe is into like BDSM, as can be like Saturn in the eighth. They're into like restrictions. The eighth house can be like some fears around ambition. These can be the overachievers, because that would actually mean that this is a Gemini rising. So there can be like some issues or like some fears around like, actually being the boss and like rising to the occasion. And so these can be the overachievers, but overachievers like a lot of times will have fears about achieving their wildest dreams. And because I think there's a fear like around loneliness when we have Capricorn in the eighth, and being at the top is lonely sometimes. Um, and people are looking up to you, and there's like a fear of responsibility, having to grow up. Like a lot of Gemini risings have that fear of growing up and getting older. Saturn in the eighth can point to some like sexual abuse, or like some issues like around finances when it comes to like inheritances or like money that comes from other people, um, and like what other people think of you. Capricorn in the ninth can be like almost like a witchy type. Capricorn can be very much like that old wisdom. The ninth house is spirituality, so this is literally going to be like a person that is a witch, or someone that subscribes to like older ways of like older beliefs, um, or like I guess they're very deeply rooted into the rituals of older belief systems. And so we could see that with Capricorn in the ninth, but also maybe somebody that is like an international ambassador or someone very high up in the legal system, like a judge. That would be like a very Capricorn thing. And so then we have Saturn in the ninth. There can be some issues like having to do with college, or like graduating college is delayed. I know a friend that has Saturn in the ninth, and it took him, I think, like a good 7 years to graduate college. And he did a lot of like gap years, like within his time in college. Um, and so and there can also be like maybe like some struggles like leaving the country, whenever maybe they, plan a trip. all of a sudden they can't go, or like something happens and they're not able to go. That could happen as well. Capricorn in the 10th wants to be recognized for their achievements. They want to be recognized for their hard work, and they are always going to be the class act, always want to, really appeal to what they're always going to be very, I guess, like polished when it comes to their public appearance. This could be like the PR person or someone that has a PR person. Saturn in the 10th is not going to have the greatest relationship with the public. It could be someone that maybe struggles with their reputation, or whether that be like people, have an issue like with them and, cause them to have the bad reputation, or someone that struggles with the reputation other people have given them, or, they just created that for themselves. But Saturn in the 10th can be like some issues also around authority figures as well. Capricorn in the 11th can be like, friends in high places. It can also be like climbing the social ladder. When we're talking about like achieving your dreams, it's who you know, and you know, becoming very unique in how you get to the top, and being a very much out of the box thinker. It can also be like someone that has a very small group of friends, very exclusive group of friends. Saturn in the 11th can be like someone that has a small group of friends or struggles to keep friends at all. Saturn in the 11th can be a lack of belief in your dreams, or believing that you can achieve those things as well, or having a hard time reaping the benefits of achieving said dreams as well. Capricorn in the 12th can be a lot of pessimism, but also like this divine connection with beyond the veil. And it can also be like some anxiety, some worry, as can Saturn in the 12th. That can really also be someone that maybe struggles with mental illness, or someone maybe that struggles with not being so isolated around other people. This is going to be somebody that would rather like isolate rather than be around others. It can be, this just like this very gloomy kind of outlook on life, but it can also just be like delays in life. With Saturn in the 12th is like everything gets delayed, and they have success later in life rather than earlier in life, which can cause all of those issues that we talked about earlier. So we've been talking about Sun in Capricorn for this whole class, so we're going to skip over that really quick and talk about Moon in Capricorn. So Moon in Capricorn, these are going to be the people. I don't know if anybody's seen this meme, but there was a meme that I saw once of people with Moon in Capricorn, and it was like this orange. And it like you saw that somebody had peeled back the skin of the orange, and they're like, oh, this is what it's like getting a Capricorn moon to like open up, and like inside of like the open peel was another peel. And like so it was kind of like saying like basically these people don't open up, which I guess to an extent is true, but it's not all the way. Moon in Capricorn is going to be a bit more serious, a bit more reserved, a bit more standoffish. And so it's not that they can't open up, it just takes time. Moon in Capricorn is very sensitive. Make no mistake about it. Moon in Capricorn is very sensitive, but they won't show you that they're sensitive a lot of the time. They'll keep that to themselves, because remember, it's all about appearances, or feigned appearances is very much like a Saturn thing. And when you have the moon in a Saturn ruled sign, it's all about faking the emotions. And so these are going to be the people that might have a lot of repressed emotions, or say that they're fine when they're really not. And they are very focused on maybe making changes in their career, or just being very focused on success. Mercury in Capricorn is going to make a lot of moves to find success. It's going to be an out of the box, or not an out of the box thinker, someone that is very good at communicating effectively and practically with others. It can be someone that is very observant and picking up, constantly on cues that can kind of help them when it does come to, connecting with others. Mercury and Capricorn, like I said, it's going to be practical. These aren't going to be people that, waste words. And so this person could be like, at first very quiet as well. Venus and Capricorn is going to be somebody that doesn't like all the bells and whistles when it comes to relationships or beauty or, even values. They like things very simple. They, as far as like style, when we talk about Venus and Capricorn, it's going to be like more business attire rather than, like, maybe something a bit more fun and trendy and colorful. These might be the people that, have a very muted closet, so lots of blacks, lots of grays, lots of browns. It can also be somebody that likes older partners as well, or very accomplished partners. Um, Mars in Capricorn. Mars is actually in its exaltation when it's in Capricorn. And so we see very high achievers when we see Mars in Capricorn, people that are very good at knocking out tasks and, delegating tasks and really leaning into leadership. Jupiter in Capricorn is going to be Jupiter is in a Saturn ruled sign, and so they kind of cancel each other out when Jupiter is in Capricorn. And so we see good luck comes from hard work, essentially, with Jupiter and Capricorn, because Jupiter is not able to kind of like give its usual abundance because Saturn is all about struggle. It's about the, doing the struggle bus and like what have you earned over a long period of time. So Jupiter and Capricorn is not just about, good luck comes from hard work, but also good luck comes in the long term. So it's not right now, it's not immediate. Saturn in Capricorn is going to be doubly so about like long-term success and, not maybe like we had this during 2020 where we saw a lot of people lose their jobs. That was Saturn in Capricorn, and Jupiter really expanded on that because Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct during that time. But Saturn and Capricorn can also be like a lot of like illness, a lot of death. It can definitely be, especially when we're talking about older people as well. And so that can be Saturn and Capricorn. Uranus and Capricorn is going to revolutionize like the workforce, or like big business can really come in when we see Uranus and Capricorn, as well as like maybe even like groups or communities creating new businesses or new corporations. Neptune in Capricorn isn't really going to want to do the same thing that Capricorn wants to do. Capricorn wants structure. It wants to have um, the mystical kind of aspect of it wants that mystical side of Capricorn, and there is a mystical side when we talk about Capricorn and Saturn. But Neptune and Capricorn can be a lot of pessimism. It can struggle with like structuring things in general. A lot of millennials have this, and so it can be like a not wanting to do the 9 to 5 kind of job. It wants something more creative. It wants something more, a little less defined. And it can be a bit more spiritual when it does come to how do we connect like with our bodies and minds in spirit. Pluto in Capricorn is what we have right now. And so it can be like abuse of power from those in power, which we're seeing a lot of. It can be some transformation of the workforce as well. And so when I keep telling people, like, do what you love because the game is changing. Pluto is really close to being at 29 degrees of Capricorn. Whenever a planet hits 29 degrees of anything, things get real. And so it stopped just short of 29 degrees. It stopped at 28 degrees and started to retrograde. So when it does finally hit 29 degrees, I think, it'll become very apparent that the workforce is changing. We're going to see a lot of big changes with that. And so, yeah, so let's take a look at the, let's take a look at Rihanna's chart. Okay, 1 second. So we'll take a look at Rihanna's chart really quick, and then we will be all done for the day. All right, so Rihanna, singer-songwriter Rihanna, has Saturn and Capricorn at 0 degrees in her 10th house. So it's going to be, of course, like some struggles in, the workforce around reputation, and like, things that are happening in public in particular, especially when it does come to like who your friends are or like who you hang around. There can be some struggles around like achieving dreams as well. Some issues when it does come to like possibly like authority figures and like having kind of like that mixed bag of reputation, which Rihanna definitely does. She famously said, I don't want to be a role model. So it can be like someone that has a lot of responsibility, but also someone that rejects that responsibility as well, with Saturn in the 10th house in Capricorn, nonetheless. It could also be like there is some sort of issue, like with the mother, like maybe the mother has passed, or like there's a mother that is very like very strict, or a mother that didn't have a lot to give like to her children growing up. Or as they grew up, and she just kind of like was going off the necessity, and so that can put some pressure on the first house of like, figuring out the identity. Rihanna also has Jupiter in Aries, so she's about to have her Jupiter return, and she of course has she has her. Let me see this. I was about to say something else and I lost it. So she's about to have her Jupiter return. So she's going to have a baby. I was talking a little bit about this in a video before this. Yeah, that Jupiter in Aries can be like childbirth, since Aries is like the baby of the zodiac. But other than that, that is all I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that it was helpful. I will be uploading this in the next couple days on the Divination YouTube page. So if you're watching it on Divination's YouTube page, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.